Hi friends, it's Sunny. Welcome. So this week I'm going to post a little bit of a different video than I usually do. Some of you might know there's a new show that just debuted last week on the Bravo network called Dancing Queens. So this is a yet another reality show about ballroom dancing. And so I've noticed no one on YouTube is posting synapses of what's going on in this show yet. And if you're like me, I teach 6 days a week. I am a super busy mom. I'm at school pickup, homework, volleyball games. I have an old school husband who wants dinner on the table at 5. So I always have my hands full and I don't always have time to watch these shows that I enjoy. So I like to just click on YouTube videos that give me a little summary of what I missed that week and what all these characters are up to. So if you like the content today, hit like, subscribe, let me know in the comments, and I can post some more videos about this or other shows. I've also been, I've had many friends on Dancing with the Stars. I've been to live taping many times. I know a lot about what has gone on behind the scenes in these reality TV shows. So if you're interested in hearing more about those experiences and my take as a professional dancer on the reality TV life of ballroom dancing, let me know below. So let's get started. There are some aspects of this show that I found to be very scripted. Perhaps making a little melodrama to increase viewership for reality TV, and that's to be expected. But there were a lot of realistic things I saw on the show as well that I appreciated them conveying to the audience. So just to give you some background, we are introduced to 4 characters in this first episode. And they are all preparing to compete at a competition called the Tri-State Challenge. I've competed there myself. I can share more about that particular competition if you're interested in another video. Pro-Am is where you compete with a professional partner, meaning an amateur competes with a professional, with their teacher as their partner. And you compete on the floor against other Pro-Am couples. In competition, there's also amateur competition where an amateur dances with another amateur partner and they compete against other amateur couples. So no pros are on the competition floor. Finally, there's professional competition where a professional will partner with another professional dancer. And you compete with them on the competition floor against other professional couples. The most common competition in the United States is Pro-Am, where an amateur lady will dance with the amateur pro, though you can have males dance with their female pro. And I've done all 3 of those types of competition. I've competed many years as amateur. I've competed in the open professional championship level as a professional, and I've competed Pro-Am. I never competed as an amateur Pro-Am partner, but I have competed with men who are my amateur partner. I'm the professional in the partnership. And I really enjoyed competing in all 3 of these categories. If you're interested in hearing more about how competitions work, I can post that in another video. I do want to keep this somewhat in a nutshell so you're not stuck watching a 5-hour one video. Anyway, things I really liked about this new Bravo shows. So first of all, I like that they portray a variety of body shapes. If you're competing in the amateur categories or the professional categories, you're not going to see so much of this. To exceed in those categories, you really need to be really athletic in your build and in your performance. But certainly in Pro-Am, that's not the expectation. The judges know that these people are not dancing full-time. They have full lives outside of dancing. And so that's okay. And I do like that they show a variety of characters in that way. Secondly, I like that they portray the most common competitor in the United States, which is, in all honesty, a middle-aged Pro-Am lady, where she pays usually a younger male pro to compete with her. and she pays that professional well for that service. It is significantly cheaper to compete professionally as a pro couple or as an amateur couple, because you don't need to pay your partner to be at the competition with you. In those categories, you don't need to pay your partner to practice. You don't need to pay that partner to take lessons with a visiting pro, but you do pay that professional for their time. Secondly, I like that they realistically so far seem to portray the friendship bonds between competitors. Are we competitive against each other? Absolutely. It's more fun to win, but the reality is these people really do become your best friends. They're from around the country, and you meet up at these competitions together throughout the year. Each of these competitions are hosted annually, so you see each other month to month, year to year. And it's so fun to just meet up with each other, go out to dinner after the competition, and talk about this shared passion that you have together. I like that they realistically portray the cost associated with competing. Because in addition to paying your professional to be there and paying for their hotel travel expenses and your own, there's the competition entry fees. Immense amount of money put into coaching, preparing for the competition. The makeup, the hair, the costumes are very expensive. This is not something you could just run to the store and pick up. They are custom made. The appearance is realistic. They might look over the top for the show, but the reality is this is what we look like as ladies when we show up to the competition. You have a tan, you have show makeup, you have your hair, you might have rhinestones glued in your hair. And that is not overdone for this show one iota. They did show towards the tail end of that debut episode, the ladies together preparing, warming up. And that is true. There is a warm-up floor that is required by NDCA regulations at any official competition where you can go and warm up before you go downstairs. For the sake of this episode, they showed the ladies all down on this floor together. The reality is they probably showed up at their leisure on the day leading up to their heat. And then about a half an hour before you're actually called to the floor, you'll roll down to the ballroom. So in case they run your heat early, you don't miss your heat. In which case you automatically place last. That has happened to me. So if you compete, make sure to show up down there early. They'll call you, they'll do your best, but if they're in a pinch, they're going to run your heat when they're going to run your heat. So definitely show up early. I do like also that they showed a couple of high-level visiting coaches, Miriam Pearson, Karina Smirnoff. These are real high-level coaches, which tells me that these ladies are willing to spend a lot on their lessons, are willing to take with the best people, and that the dancing is probably going to be pretty good for a competing pro-am in their age category. I also liked that they had one of the dancers talk about being partner dumped, because this does happen. I would say most commonly in amateur dancing, where an amateur competes with another amateur. But it does happen amidst professionals, and it happens in the pro-am community too. The reality is if you compete and you're very serious about it, you're really passionate about it, and if something goes wrong in the competition, you're not getting the results you want, there's only one other person you can blame, and people are naturally apt not to blame themselves. So anyway, that does happen. I like that they talked about that in this program. Okay, so now we're going to talk really briefly. I'll introduce you to the characters we met on this first episode. Number one, her name is Leonie. She is an investment banker from New Jersey, and so she's probably making a good living. She has one daughter who is 6 years old. I like that she talks about dancing like a narcotic. I would agree. Dancing, and particularly competing, it's really addictive. You get a high, but like I tell my students, hey, it's cheaper and healthier than a crack addiction. So anyway, it's great fun, and you definitely will get hooked when you get started. I thought it was interesting in this episode, they show her and her husband on the porch talking, and her husband complains about how much she's spending, how much time she's doing this. I have personally never seen that happen. I think many husbands don't want to dance, and they're thankful they have the opportunity to pay someone else to take care of that part of their wife's life. So I thought that was a little scripted for the show, but that's my opinion. Number 2, we meet Sabrina. She is 44. She is a stay-at-home mom with 2 adorable daughters, 10 and 12 years old. I thought it was interesting that she is just coming out of a 1.5-year break she broke up with her pro because they weren't getting along. And that does happen. And sometimes you just need what I call a mental health break. That's fine. I thought it was interesting. The most interesting part of her piece in the episode was that her husband was talking about how he wouldn't let her dance if he was the jealous type, and he's not worried about her at all hooking up with this professional. And I have to be honest with you that I would not let my wife dance prime if I were a professional. If I were an amateur man and my lady was wanting to go out and dance with a professional man. Here's why. I have seen a ton of affairs. And interestingly, every one of them I've seen has been between a male pro and a female amateur. He tends to be younger, she's older, like clockwork. And the reality is that the wife is the one that is instigating it. And I have seen women throw themselves at their male pro. Fortunately, most male pros are very professional, and they're not interested in taking up on the ladies' bait. But I have seen it. And if you're a professional and wanted me to hide this, I apologize. I'm just being honest about what I've seen in my own studio, many other studios around the country. It does happen. Affairs do happen. Next up, we meet Colette. She appears to be single. They don't introduce her spouse. And interestingly, she's the only character whose age they don't share. Maybe she didn't want to share that. That's up to her. But since the other ladies are in their 40s, I'm going to guess she's in her 40s too. And she has a teenage son that is special needs, who has Tatten-Brown-Raman syndrome. Obviously, he is the light of her life, as children tend to be for all of us. So that's a cute relationship to see. And she is what she funnily calls partner dumped by her professional partner. Okay, grammar freaks, do not correct me for my horrible grammar there. I am just riffing here. I don't re-record, so I know that wasn't grammatically correct. But it is fun and realistic to hear her say that she was partner dumped by her professional partner. And couple interesting things. My guess is I wouldn't dump a student, which I have done, but it's pretty rare. My guess is that she was combative in their lessons and disagreeing with what he was teaching her. And my thought is, if you disagree with your coach, you don't trust them, you think you're better than them, just go find another pro that you do respect, because there's many different ways to skin a cat. There's probably someone out there in that case that'll teach you in a way that is more appealing to you. And if you have the money, there's probably someone out there that's better too, though you tend to pay for what you get. Interestingly, this character Colette also talks about how she was very flattered after she was partner dumped, that another professional in town solicited her, came up and said, "Hey, be my partner." She seemed very flattered by this. Honestly, she shouldn't be. That professional stands to make a lot of money off of her. So if you're a high value client, a wealthy lady who has previously spent a lot of money on dancing, there's going to be 10 pros chomping at the bit to be able to dance with you. Again, don't throw shade if you're a professional dancer. I'm just being honest about what I see in the dance community. And finally, we meet Donnie. What I like about Donnie is she's a little bit heavy set for a dancer, But she does exemplify that in Pro-Am especially, you can really be any body shape and it's going to be fine on the floor. She's probably not going to be the only lady out there built like this. And the judges do empathize. They know that you're not dancing full-time. You're doing Pro-Am, which means you are definitely an amateur. You probably have a full-time job. And so they take that into account and are judging you based on your dancing and not necessarily on your figure as much as they would judge you in amateur or professional competition. So that is my summary of this first episode. If you liked it, click down below, subscribe, and I will not be posting this in lieu of my weekly dance tips videos, but if I post these, it will be a bonus video that I'll post each week to give you the DL on what's happened this week on Dancing Queens. And the second episode is tonight, so hopefully we'll see an exciting result to their competing at the Tri-State Challenge. Just with the limited dancing I've seen so far, my guess is that Leonie will come in first, Colette will come in second, Sabrina will come in third, and Donnie will come in fourth. But Sabrina did look very stiff and nervous on the warm-up floor, and she hasn't been on the comp floor in a couple years due to that break, so it's possible she'll place fourth. But that's just my prediction. We'll find out how they all actually dance under stress. So I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for joining me today. Bye, guys.